The recruitment hall of the Galactic Defense Force buzzed with nervous energy as beings from dozens of species gathered for their first day of basic training. Among the towering Zephyrians with their crystalline skin and the hulking Gorvok warriors with their 4 arms, one figure seemed almost comically out of place. Marcus Chen stood barely 6 feet tall, his unremarkable human physique dwarfed by the alien giant surrounding him. His standard-issue training uniform hung loose on his frame, and his dark hair was already damp with sweat despite the controlled environment of the facility. The other recruits noticed him immediately. "Look at that," rumbled Korthax, a massive Gorvok whose biceps were thicker than Marcus's torso. "They're letting the soft skins join the real military now?" His deep voice carried across the hall, drawing snickers from nearby recruits. Zeroth, a Zephyrian whose translucent body pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, chimed in with a sound like crystal bells. "I heard humans are from a low-gravity world. They probably need assistance just to walk properly in standard G-force." Marcus kept his eyes forward, jaw clenched. He'd heard it all before during the selection process. Earth was considered a backwater planet, its inhabitants weak and primitive compared to the established galactic civilizations. The only reason humans were being recruited at all was due to the desperate need for soldiers in the ongoing war against the Void Consortium. Drill Sergeant Vextar, a scarred veteran from the reptilian saurid species, entered the hall with heavy footsteps that echoed like gunshots. His yellow eyes swept across the assembled recruits before settling on Marcus with obvious disdain. "Today, maggots, you'll be introduced to the tools of war," Vextar hissed, his forked tongue flicking out. "We'll start with the Graviton Pulse Cannon, standard heavy weapon for all GDF units." The sergeant gestured to a weapon mounted on a specialized rack. The cannon was a masterpiece of alien engineering, its dark metal surface etched with intricate patterns that seemed to shift in the light. It stood nearly as tall as Marcus himself, with a barrel thick enough to crawl through and a power core that hummed with barely contained energy. "The GPC weighs approximately 340 standard units," Vextar explained, his cold gaze sweeping the room. "It requires significant strength to wield effectively in combat situations. We'll test each recruit's capability." One by one, the alien recruits stepped forward. Korthax hefted the weapon with some effort, his 4 arms straining as he managed to hold it steady for the required 30 seconds. The Zephyrians used their crystalline structure to distribute the weight, while other species employed various techniques to manage the massive cannon. Finally, Sergeant Vextar's eyes settled on Marcus. "Human," he spat, "your turn." The hall fell silent except for the low hum of machinery. Marcus approached the weapon rack, acutely aware of every eye upon him. He could hear the whispered comments, the barely suppressed laughter from some quarters. "This should be entertaining," Korthax murmured to his neighbor. Marcus placed his hands on the weapon's grips, feeling the cold metal against his palms. The weight was immediately apparent. It was heavy, certainly, but not impossibly so. Earth's gravity was higher than the galactic standard, and humans had evolved under its relentless pull. Every step Marcus had ever taken, every movement he'd ever made, had been against a force that would crush many of these alien species. With a smooth, controlled motion, Marcus lifted the Graviton Pulse Cannon from its rack. He held it steady, not just for the required 30 seconds, but for a full minute. Then, to the stunned silence of the room, he began to maneuver it through basic combat positions: high ready, low ready, tactical reload stance. The weapon that had challenged even the strongest alien recruits seemed almost manageable in his hands. His breathing remained steady, his stance solid. Earth's crushing gravity had forged him into something these beings couldn't comprehend, a creature built for endurance, for carrying weight, for functioning under pressure that would liquefy their bones. Sergeant Vectar's eyes widened, his professional demeanor cracking for just a moment. "Adequate," he finally managed, though his voice carried a new note of respect. As Marcus set the weapon back on its rack, the hall remained silent. The mockery had died in their throats, replaced by something approaching awe. They were beginning to understand that humanity's perceived weakness might be their greatest underestimation yet. In the days that followed, none of them would mock the human recruit again.